Welcome to Aotu. I'm very happy to present this work tonight with my musician friends. This show is called Why? And why we'll go through different works that I've been doing for the last 10 years, using different ways, using different paths. And this show is not about me. This is actually a lot about me, but it's also about the workers that I've been working with, the craftsmen. It's also about Beijing. It's also about Ray over there, who had the energy and the vision to open this amazing space. It's about Aotu. And it's also about you too. Welcome. In 2008 was the real start of my work, and it happened here in China. I came to Shanghai and I started drawing and then painting on people. My idea was really simple and had no references whatsoever. I just had this idea of making compositions that would be a mix between a painting and a photograph. And I just wanted to experiment with as many faces, as many people, as many stories as possible. I just let myself and let my pen and the brush go according to the encounter, according to this really, sometimes really brief, sometimes longer conversation I could have with the models. No rules. Just inviting people to come and being very open about the outcome. But this work has many of my work before and then the future works. It's about the movement. And working with the models and the living canvas. It's also about when the face animates, when the face becomes alive, when the mask turns into a living, into something that expresses feelings, joy, sometimes sadness, but when the joy comes and when this light comes, transforming necessarily this geometry that I've been working on and making something different. That was the goal. That was the collaboration that I tried to make happen between the model and what I could paint on them. I set a few rules from the beginning. I'm working only with primary colors, with white, black, and nuances of gray. But sometimes you have the feeling that for your rules to be strong, you have to make exceptions. And this day, I had this lady coming into the studio, and I had gold in my palette, and I never use gold, and I never used gold before, and since I never used gold again. But on her, I just thought this day that was the right moment, and I just tried something. And then she came and we had this brief conversation, and I knew she was a young mom, really cool, really laid back. And in this project, my intention is not clear. But the process is always the same. I start with a mask, and then I ask the model or I lead the model into some kind of an animation. And to get somebody to smile, to get somebody to give you this little spark that will make, beyond that, just a beautiful image, but something that can move you and show something beyond, like the life beyond the model. You have to find tricks. And these days, I had made this picture, and then I needed a smile from her. I needed to go beyond the mask in the most beautiful way possible, and I knew I could get a great image. And then I was like, okay, listen to me. And I kneeled in front of her. I'm like, okay, imagine I'm this 6-year-old kid from the neighbors that you know, and I come and knock at your door, and you open the door. I'm like, may I have some salt? And then she animates the greatest way possible. And I was happy about the mask that was before. There was something interesting, there was something even Egyptian. And in this one, we go way beyond. We go with what the model these days had to bring to this project. And then another sort of action comes. My hand and the brush just go as a free move, as an action painting move. this point in Shanghai. And then I get the opportunity to discover this great community of tricycles. Those guys making a living by making those great, sometimes accumulation sculptures. I get right away really inspired. I started before doing some kinetic sculpture and doing some work in the public space, and I thought that the thing that they were doing was just like amazing, like stacking the things and having this sense, this needed sense of balance to make those things. And I thought this is a beautiful way to go around the city, and this is, they get like so creative with the ways they carry things around, the ways they make a living just with their three-wheeler. And I started thinking of it right away, of a piece that I could make, and I had in mind this. I started with a helicopter. It was a tricycle helicopter that was supposed to go in the streets of Shanghai. And then I had different other kinds of ideas, but the tricycle was really part of this amazing inspiration that I get from this place. And then I discovered the work of French artist Nicolas Schiffer. And I started, one of the first pieces I saw from him was the automobile sculpture. This piece was made in the early 70s. And he was riding with it in the streets of Paris. The intention of Nicolas Schiffer was to take the art out of the galleries, out of the museum, and bring it into the street, bring it where life happens. With the automobile sculpture, what Schiffer wanted to bring the automobilists out of their automatism, which means you go from A to B and B to A and A to C and C to A and sometimes D, but you always go back to A and C and B and A. But one day there is an automobile sculpture that grabs your eyes and that brings you into something else. You don't understand, you don't even try to understand at this point. It's just something that takes you out of your automatisms. And I thought this piece was just brilliant. Imagine in the early 70s. And you have those rotating mirrors based on this rotating structure, based on this moving van. And I really participated into building this idea of making a piece that would be shown in the streets and maybe on the roads. Mr. Nicolas Schiffer is this gentleman wearing the hat and the tie. Then came other inspirations. I had to get acupuncture. Then I started getting into some notions and get a little bit more into these principles of what Taoism is about. Trying to understand, and through some conversations with my American Chinese medicine doctor, trying to dig a little bit more what was behind this beautiful pattern and those strong principles. At the same time, I discovered the E8, this mathematical composition used by American physicist Garrett Lizzie in order to build a theory trying to explain and understand the mechanisms of the universe, called the theory of everything. The link between the Bagua and the E8 was that they were, I would say, as deep, but they wouldn't use any mathematical figures. It's only shapes, it's only lines. And then I came up with the first draft of M2B. And then I moved to Beijing. And I made the sculpture M2B and showed it for the first time in Sanlitun in 2011. The first time we showed it, there was a stationary installation, but also interactive. And this cubic structure that I put on the back of the tricycle, which is a representation of the universe, mixing the Bagua and the E8, was offered for people to interact with and to trigger. On this big red button, it's written push to change the world. The idea was just to offer a button in the public space for people to kind of attempt an utopic move, gesture, just changing the world. What would happen if I just do this? And then almost nothing happened. That's why this first piece is called the Butterfly Effect Kinetic Sculpture. That's the B of M2B. And along the way, it gets a little tough because I built this tricycle. I made this mission my main work. And I decided to come and do it in China. And at some point, I'm just once again isolated, running out of money, and sometimes really questioning the choices I made. Then I started in parallel another project, making self-portraits. And the self-portraits were the way to express what I felt at this point. And that's the picture I made. And the feeling I had at this point was this one. I was really in between, on and off. I could feel myself alive. But it wasn't that clear. Down moment that I had to express somehow. Past this, I had to continue. And I had been in Beijing for a year, and then I decided, okay, we have to move forward, we have to keep on going. What do you have? You have a tricycle, okay. Let's move. At first, I wanted to take the tricycle and go from Beijing to Paris. Bad idea. I didn't. Then I took the tricycle and I took it from Beijing to Shanghai. That was just the continuity of the thing I started. I just continued. I just pushed again. Did I make a mistake? I wasn't so sure about the fact I made a mistake. Then I had this little hope that I didn't make a mistake, and I still had this strong idea in my mind. And after 39 days on the road, riding every day, 8 hours, I finally reached Shanghai. And as you can imagine, there was a release. I didn't know if we would make it. If with my friend Shoyang, who decided to come with me, we were even surprised to make it like in one piece. But we did, and it was great. We celebrated, and it was nice. But once again, my plan was something different. This was spring 2012. In spring 2013 in Paris was a big retrospective exhibition called Dynamo. And at Dynamo, the work of Nicolas Schoeffer and other really big guys were shown. And I wanted just to prove the legitimacy of this piece and to be able to be invited to this show. And I had Eleanor Schoeffer, the wife of Nicolas Schoeffer, who backed me up and who tried to get the piece into the show. But it was too early for M2B to come back to Paris. So I knew I had to continue. I had to continue sounds. I had to do the full crossing from Beijing to then Hong Kong. And then at the beginning of 2013, I had to give me strength. I had to turn myself into this kind of a super powerful God of the Olymp. Just for this moment, just to try to give me the power, give me the strength to go further. And that was my greeting card that I sent to everybody for 2013, wishing them like strength and power. I don't remember exactly what I wished, but I was there with my monolith of mirror, trying to look strong, especially trying to look strong in my head to be able to continue. And then I was in Paris, and then I had to start this crowdfunding because all those things cost money. So I have to get money. I have to convince people that we need more M2B. We may need less static. We may need less TV, but more M2B. We may need less PSG, but more M2B. Less motion, but more M2B. Less famous, but more M2B. Maybe less shoes, but just bring more M2B. Less Amélie and more M2B. Maybe less tits and bring it more M2B. And less clothes and put more M2B. Less CO2, more M2B. Less pain. Less gravity. Less antique. Less kiss kiss bang bang. More kiss kiss bang bang. And this is Eleanor Schiffer. She became from the beginning of the project the godmother of this piece, M2B. And this is definitely one of the reasons M2B went that far, because she was here. Eleanor, at this point, she was 89, and she had like so much ideas, so much strength and energy that she carried me on her back. And she then carried the whole project further. Then I get the money, then I could continue. Then I was on the road again, from Shanghai to Hong Kong for 41 days. Then I reached Hong Kong. So from Beijing to Hong Kong, 80 days. Once again, I, in a way, achieved something. I gave myself a goal that I managed to reach. But then I also had to promise myself that I wouldn't do it again. Then I took this picture and I called this diptych, "The pilot is gone." And I swear to myself that I would never do it again. That the long distance riding on M2B was over. I took the uniform off. I shaved the beard that had grown for the duration of this project, and that was past. But the piece could travel and go and visit other cities. And then the first invitation came from the city of Paris, where the automobile sculpture was 40 years before. So in 2014, M2B was invited to be shown in Paris. 2016, the Department of Transportation of the city of New York City invited the project to be shown over there. And last May, we showed it in Africa, Senegal, Dakar. This project is about interactions. This is a project that happens into the public space. Nobody paid a ticket to go and see something. The thing comes and interacts with whoever wants to interact with. When we get to Dakar, Dakar was one of the strongest interactions we get with people. And we get over there for the Biennale, and there were a bunch of activities and people around for the Biennale, and one day somebody came to me and she was like, oh, can you come to our district and we would like to have your piece over there and we'll invite other artists to interact with your piece. And at the end of the day, only one artist came. His name is Fally Fall, and he's a roller dancer. His stage is the street. He's a street dancer on roller. He came. We had a 3-minute conversation, really friendly. He was really excited to be part of this thing. He said, yeah, okay, let's go. I was like, great, let's do it, which I don't know what we do, but let's do it. And I don't even know what you do, but we do it. And then I was just amazed by this guy who has the crappiest rollers ever. But at this point, of course, it doesn't matter. His energy, his willingness to be part of something, to dance, to show his work, to share his work, was just amazing. Mr. Fally Fall. We can give a round of applause, and I'm sure he will hear this from Dakar. He's a really amazing, enthusiastic guy. I'm still in touch with him. He wants to do more. He wants. I don't know what we're gonna do. We're gonna do something more with this gentleman. Little flashback. 2014. I was about to get into a new project. For this new project, I needed two things. This time, I really needed to be as sure as possible that I wanted to jump into this one. And second, I needed a ring. This is the first ring I made and gave to my fiancée, Aloïse Rossignol de la Ronde, in 2014. Then, a few weeks later, it's actually a few months later, I was invited by some people in Yunnan having this residency and willing to have artists and designers to come and collaborate with local craftsmen. I chose to do jewelry because they do like amazing silver jewelry. And I met with this gentleman, Yang San Jun, who's a very talented craftsman, and was really open also to the collaboration. So I went to his workshop, saw how he worked, and started making some proposals and making like pieces that he would actually build. So I went there twice for 1 week, and we met maybe like 6 times, and we came up with this collection of 12 pieces made of rings, necklaces, earrings. You actually can see the result in the gallery at the entrance. And then we finished this in July 2015. And then I had to find a way to launch, to show this new project that I had. And then Design Week was coming, and I was like, okay, let's show this project at Beijing Design Week. How do you launch a jewelry collection? I don't know. Then I made this tricycle. The tricycle is also a jewelry shop with this window that I place the pieces inside. And then if you wait long enough, at some point, or if you buy a piece, there is a cognac cabinet in the back that I open for special occasions, or when somebody decides to go home with one of these pieces. Then at Beijing Design Week, some people get a little excited about the project, and they decided to invite the project to the Shanghai Fashion Week that was happening the months after. So little Silverchair was going its way to Shanghai for the Fashion Week. I was like, yeah, it's Fashion Week. So it's about fashion, then it's a big circus, right? What should I do? Maybe I should do a big cross on my head and go wild, right? This is only fashion. So I went over there for a week, and I just drank cognac, showing my work, giving interviews, trying to make the less sense possible, and it worked very well. Then I continued with a gold series. But when I finished this residency in Yunnan, I finally had one day that I could go and look around. And this was the view I had from my room. And this is Mount Yulong. Beautiful mountain. And this photographer, Florent Bérard, I met over there, invited me to come and follow him on the mountain that was just in front of Yulong. I was really happy to follow, and then we went up this mountain, and at 3,850 meters we found this amazing, beautiful piece of limestone. I've never seen such a thing before. We were both really amazed by the beauty of this thing. And right away we knew we will come back. We will share some time with this piece. We will pictures, we will talk to it, we will listen to it. Must have some stories to tell us. Then we went for a few trips, and the last trip we stayed for 3 days on the top of this mountain. And those are the pictures that I brought from these 3 expeditions over there. And this is the stone. This is a 3D print of the stone. The stone remains on the top of this mountain. In order to be able to share this beauty with more people, we had to bring it into the city. But we also wanted to keep it on the mountain. Then we 3D scanned it, we 3D printed it, and we had a replica made of the stone based on this 3D print, made with marble, white marble from Dali. That we showed in an exhibition last April at Cloud House, Aotu Studio. This piece is made with this beautiful white marble. Then the pedestal is a bronze pedestal, and it's based on a motorized stainless steel other pedestal that makes the stone rotate very slowly. Then when the viewer comes, he doesn't have to walk around as we did for many hours to look at the different aspects of this piece. But right away it's given the 360 view of this piece is offered by the mechanized pedestal. And And then the idea was to share this piece with the photos and the sculpture and the stories and some films, and reacting the discovery, the encounter on the top of this mountain, and to try to share this great moment of communion we had. And like some people, like, I don't know if you've seen the pieces of Wong Ke-ping, makes these beautiful big pieces, wooden pieces. And when you go to a gallery, it's one of the only gallery that the gallerist told me, if you want, you can touch. It's like, yeah, I want it. And sometimes you need to touch a piece to really feel it. And this piece, I invited people to touch it. This is another story. Then, after this show at Cloud House, which is April this year, 2 days after we finished this show, I go to Dakar and I participate at the Biennale, Dak Art over there. And I arrived 5 days before, and I organized everything. It was a 1 year long project. And I realized when I land in Dakar that the sculpture, instead of being sent from New York to Senegal, was sent to Belgium. I have no piece for the opening of the Biennale. I have 5 days to come up with a new one. I made this in 5 days with some amazing craftsmen, one of the best welders I've ever met, and just great people. Really a process that, you know, sometimes we say that the craftsmen, or the artists, or people in general, they give you their heart, and they go like really strong and all their energy, and they believed into the project, and they were excited, and the Biennale in Dakar is a big deal, and then they were part of this thing, and we made this one. And this one is called M2B4, because there was the B4 of M2B. It arrives before M2B. And it has the same DNA. It has 12 elements moving, 12 geometrical elements moving in space. And then 2 months later, we get invited to the Beijing Olympic Expo. And I make an M2B4 number 2, which is exactly the same one, but different materials, working with local techniques. And then I made M2B4 number 3. too young. I felt while I was doing this one. I finally had this deep feeling of balance. And once again, the representation of the Bagua followed. And on the right side, you have the hexagram 63, which is this climax of equilibrium, this perfect balance. I didn't intend to, or even pretend that I reached this, but I knew I reached the end of a cycle. And the end of this cycle felt good and felt balanced. And then I'm also very aware that the only thing that never changes is that everything is always changing. And I knew and I felt it. I was ready for the next hexagram, number 64, which is chaos. After the balance comes, again, everything is gonna be reshuffled. Everything is gonna move again. Everything will change again. And we have to be just open to this change. And in this new self-portrait, I just changed. And I felt that I welcomed this chaos, this reshuffle of things. And then came along the idea, the image of the 316L that I am very happy to show you tonight, because it's still a project. It's not a piece that I finished yet, but I'm showing you the core of this piece that for me represents this chaos the best way possible. This is a compression of the highest grade of stainless steel used for marine products. So this one will be the last one to get oxidated, to rust. And at the opposite of this one that was found, this one was found at 3,900 meters. This is a beautiful representation of what nature can give us in terms of shape and harmony of shapes. This is an extremely chaotic, non-laid out, non-planned structure. And this, for me, at this point, this compression has an indéniable aesthetical values. And when I was walking into this factory in Shandong, and I saw this thing, and I was like, wow, this is amazing, and can I have one? And those guys were looking at me like, okay, like, yeah, French artist, right? And this will be framed in a this is part of the cube series. I will make a structure where I will hang this one by just one wire, and then it will give lightness, and it will make it almost fly into a cubic structure. I really like this one. It will, and I believe into triptychs. I believe into the number 3, and at this end of this cycle and the beginning of the new one, I feel that 3116L is very welcome, and I'm very happy to share it with you guys tonight. Yeah, we have more, but I don't know what's next because I think I never. It's the first time I saw them together, and it's I like it. Oh, yes. Okay, then to finish, as a conclusion, we would like to share one last little piece. I was lucky enough to be invited last Monday in Inner Mongolia to a performance festival called Burnt of Snow. Nobody really knows what it means, but it's a great festival, and there are some great artists, great people organizing it, and actually the title in Chinese makes more sense. And just to give you a little introduction about this one, we did it in Zhao banner, which is the land where China's space agency is bringing back their teams from the space travel. And a little earlier this year, I was introduced to the overview effect. The overview effect is the feeling that the space travelers get when there is no gravity. You don't feel your body anymore, and you see the Earth. And the overview effect brings you this overwhelming sensation of love for Earth. And I was very touched by this personal discovery, and I thought about a piece that would involve one of my small discovery that I would bring over there into this land, and I would just put myself in orbit around this piece, giving once again a tribute to this natural beauty. And this is what I did. Alphabet, my great assistant, who's really trying her best and she's doing great. And thank you very much, everybody, for coming. It's always a pleasure to